Celebrating the fall colors of Edmonton, Canada. This is Mandeep Prabhakar. Welcome to the GCN Show.
Welcome to the GCN Show.
Coming up this week, bikes are too expensive. So what do we do about it?
We've also got some new tech, including the Wuhan Weapon, how Specialized will fix your bike for free, but only this Saturday, a new supercoach joining cycling, and whether Wout van Aert is a squirrel.
Intriguing. Plus, we've got the return of Extreme Corner. Had like about a year off, haven't it, at least?
Well, it's had long enough off that I feel we're too old to do that now. This week in the world of cycling, we learn that track cycling legend Sir Chris Hoy has terminal cancer, and doctors estimate he's got between 2 and 4 years to live.
Yeah, he revealed this crushing prognosis in an interview with British newspaper The Sunday Times. And to be frank, he came across every inch the positive, pragmatic and inspirational role model that he was as an athlete.
Yeah, you know that the phrase a lot of people use, you shouldn't meet your heroes?
Yeah.
Does not apply to Chris Hoy,
No.
does it? One of the nicest and best humans out there. We had the privilege of working with him quite a few years back now, and he was just brilliant, wasn't he?
Yeah.
On and off camera. So we wish him and his family the very best as he continues to battle his disease.
Yeah, we do indeed. Now, we also learned this week that cyclocross rider Ellie Isabet's tantrum the previous week has cost him a 3-race ban and a €2,500 fine.
We can now show you the incident, so here it is. And I would say that is completely indefensible.
I think it would, yes. That is the only description, isn't it, really? Now, Ellie is a bit embarrassed from this one, isn't he? Now, finally, we learned that a Canyon has just sold for $149,000.
Not a new model, but rather a much refundable special edition air road that was auctioned for the Stand Up to Cancer charity after being ridden on the second rest day of the Tour de France this last summer.
Yeah, a different sort of price tag to the Wuhan Weapon, isn't it?
Yeah.
These were bikes used illegally, as it turns out, by the St. Piran Continental team.
This is quite funny, really.
It is, isn't it, really?
Really funny. So the team ditched their sponsored bikes at the time due to unfounded safety reasons.
Yes.
And bought some under-branded frames direct from a supplier in China. But those frames had not been authorised by the UCI.
No, however, someone had stuck some fake UCI authorised stickers on. Anyway, this came out last week in a Cycling Weekly expose, and the UCI are now investigating.
It does make you think though, doesn't it? Pro cycling is a sport of both huge budgets with billionaire backers, as well as teams sort of scraping by, doing everything they can. And that's really just a snapshot of cycling for the rest of us.
It is as well, isn't it? Yeah, we've talked recently, haven't we, about the state of the bike industry and how it is still struggling. And the comments from you guys in response to that GCN show were overwhelmingly, almost exclusively, weren't they, in fact, about how bikes are simply too expensive. And so that sort of bike industry turmoil is entirely self-inflicted.
Yeah, we also know from a previous GCN show, talking to industry veteran and, you've got to say, visionary, in Gerard Vrooman.
Yeah, that's right. So he was the guy that started Cervelo, one of the two, wasn't he? Yeah. He is the principal architect of aero road bikes. He shaped time trial bikes for a decade or more, didn't he? And then, more recently, he foresaw the trend for aero gravel. Stop sniggering at the back, like that is literally a thing. And ever wider tyres. Plus, he also sponsored DAM.
Yeah, visionary.
Yeah.
Gerard Vrooman. Less successful than aero gravel, perhaps, but I think the long game paid off for him, didn't it?
I think it's true. Without you, the Cervelo testing would be consigned to the history books.
True.
You managed to talk about it most weeks. Anyway, if you remember, he said that the tech people are buying now, the tech manufacturers effectively have to put into their bikes in order to sell them, is expensive.
Yeah, so we're talking carbon fibre frames and wheels, electronic group sets, internal cables, disc brakes, etc. To make bikes better, the industry has developed better technology, but that doesn't come cheap.
No. Now, there will no doubt be one or two conspiracy theorists going it's all part of a big plan. I don't believe that, frankly. However, it does beg the question, this is where we are. So what next? If bikes are too expensive, because that's what people have been choosing to buy, how do you make them cheaper again?
Crikey, it's a question, isn't it? I mean, making things cheaper sort of again feels like fighting a rising tide.
It does a little bit, doesn't it?
In the current cost of living crisis, everything is significantly more expensive.
Apart from skateboards.
Really?
Yes. It's about 30 years, right, since I last bought a skateboard. And no, it's basically the same price now as it was then. How has skateboarding achieved this?
Good question. This might not surprise you, but I am not a skateboard expert. So,
Really?
Although, to the best of my knowledge, skateboards don't have hydraulic disc brakes or electronic shifting on them.
No, that's true. I mean, as far as I can tell, their tech is whooped, like stuck in the 90s,
Yeah,
basically.
4 wheels and a board, isn't it?
Yeah, and nothing aerodynamic.
No.
Still plywood. Anyway, the accusation, I think, though, is that bicycle prices have risen more than in other industries, haven't they? But I did have a look at cars, okay? And the same is true of the car industry. So did you know that here in the UK, the price of a Renault Zoe has increased by 123% in a decade?
I didn't know that. I've not been in the market for a Renault Zoe. The cost of superbikes, actually, is often compared unfavourably, I think, to motorbikes. But when I Googled it, I found an article on Motorcycle News that starts with, it's a common complaint in the motorbike industry that motorbikes have got too expensive and it's easy to see why, and which then has an industry expert defending the high prices, high costs, more expensive tech in those bikes.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Bet you didn't expect that, did you? What's interesting, though, in both these examples, certainly in cars, and I think probably in motorbikes too, but I don't know, is that there's less of an expectation from motorists to be able to afford the top models.
Yeah, I mean, is there an outcry when the latest McLaren comes out retailing at what, $2.6 million?
$2.6 million? Are you serious?
Probably a bit of an outcry, but it doesn't really affect the rest of us because we don't expect to be able to buy them, do we? Whereas car brands make cars for the rest of us, maybe bike brands underserve customers with cool alternatives to the top-end ones.
Are you saying that the Renault Zoe is cool?
No, I am not saying that the Renault Zoe is cool.
Okay.
But normal cars that are made to look cool or fast have long been popular, haven't they?
That is true, yeah.
But yet it's really hard to find a cool race bike on a budget.
That is true. Do you remember a few years back when I went to Eurobike? You won't, because we're going way, way, way back. But Mavic had this prototype wheel, and it was an aluminium wheel with a normal aluminium rim, but then they had a foam deep section bit on it. So it looked, until you were close up, like a deep section carbon wheel, but it was a foam fairing on there. I remember thinking at the time, like, that's cool. Like, I really want deep section wheels on my bike, but if you can't afford, well, what are they now? Like, cheaper anyway, aren't they? But
I'm trying to think what the equivalent on a car would be. It's like you can't afford the Porsche, so you've got an old Vauxhall Nova and you put a spoiler on the back.
well, I'm thinking less about spoilers and more about, like, you know, a nice set of rims on your car. But, I mean, back to that point, I do think there is something staring us in the face here, and that is that most car drivers, and again, I don't have that much in the way of statistics to back me up here, but I think most car drivers buy second-hand cars.
I think that would be right, wouldn't it? I mean, I've never bought a new car in my life, and I never plan to either.
No, same here. And so is that what we should be gearing up for as consumers of bikes? Like platforms like Bicycle are professionalising that space now, making it easy to buy, sell. Have eBay dropped their seller fees?
They have, yes,
Yeah.
except for on cars.
But on bikes, presumably, because that was eye-watering for a time, wasn't it? But anyway, you still don't get that same level of confidence that you might do with something like a Bicycle.
No, true, but it is definitely one avenue worth considering, isn't it, the second-hand market? I still don't think it's the answer that some people out there will want. I mean, I'm not sure how many people are in this camp, but for some, the dream would be tech from like 15 years ago on a new bike. So 7 kilograms, rim brakes, mechanical gears.
Yeah, but could that bike be sold now? I mean, given what we said earlier, you would still have to brace yourself for that bike to be double the price, wouldn't you?
Yeah, maybe.
Like, there's just no way around it. It's like a Renault Zoe. So I can't help but think that going second hand is the way to go if you want one of those bikes, because then you would not just have the bike that you want, you would save even more money as well. I feel like that's the future. I feel like that's how we get more people on bikes, more people into the sport, just simply by destigmatising and normalising second-hand market.
Good from a sustainability perspective.
Exactly,
as well,
yeah.
Isn't it? Anyway, what do you think about this at home? Is the answer to expensive bikes simply to readjust our perspectives? Is it to look at the used bike market, or is it for a disruptive brand to come in and make cheap bikes like we used to ride 15 years ago and make loads of money out of that?
But would they make loads of money out of it?
Oh, yeah.
Surely if they could, somebody would have done that by now.
That's a good point, Simon.
Maybe they haven't, and actually there's someone out there who's going, that's a good idea, I'm going to do it. And then they're going to nick our idea. Or maybe there's just loads of you out there watching this that are far better at economics. So anyway, get involved in the comment section down below and let us know what you think the solution could be, should be, is.
I'm looking forward to reading these.
I'm looking forward to it, yeah.
And now it's time for cycling shorts.
Cycling shorts now, and we're going to start with news of a new bike from Orbea.
Speaking of more affordable bikes, as we were, this new Avant has an aluminium frame set and lower-end group set, Claris through to 105, but it doesn't scrimp on tech.
No, it's a fully integrated cables, being a nice premium touch, even if it's an aesthetic one, as opposed to a performance one. It's got a carbon fork, it's got tyre clearance for 35mm tyres, and the ability to run mudguards / fenders, which long-time viewers of GCN will know, I do not like on my bicycles. However, after the last 18 months here in the UK, which are the wettest we've ever had...
Are you about to say what I think you're going to say?
I've cracked, mate.
You're putting mudguards / fenders on your bike?
Yeah, on my Orbea Terra gravel bike.
Wow.
I know, I went out the other day and I was like, this sucks.
You are old.
Yeah, basically.
Anyway, back to the bike.
yeah,
They've
right.
also equipped it with a service box on the down tube, which is an interesting touch, isn't it?
Yeah.
It allows you to dispense with a saddle bag or top tube bag and stash your essentials on the down tube instead.
That's right. Sticking with bikes for a moment, surprise, this being the GCN show, Specialized are turning 50 next month, and to celebrate, they have stated that they want to get 1 million sad garage bikes of any brand or type fixed and back onto the road for free.
Kind of free.
Kind of.
There's a bit of small print, isn't there? The labour is free. Any new parts will need to be purchased from the Specialized dealer you take it to.
Yeah, but still, it's a noble aim. They say that if 1 million bikes get back on the road and are ridden 20 kilometres per week instead of a car being driven, they will offset 438 million kilos of CO2,
Wow.
which is equivalent of planting over 7 million trees.
Blimey. Lofty ambitions, but ones we applaud, I guess.
Absolutely, and better than eating birthday cake, right?
Yes.
Right, if you want to take advantage of it, as we mentioned in the introduction, it is only available this Saturday, the 26th of October, in participating Specialized dealers.
Right, this Saturday only then. Get your bikes down to Specialized dealers. A couple of bits of news from the pro race team Uno-X now, one of which is a reported 10-year deal between the team and Ridley Bikes.
Wowzers, that is massive, isn't it? You go back 10 years ago, gravel bikes had only just been invented. How can you... Anyway, Ridley have been out of the professional cycling scene since Lotto Destiny switched to Orbea this year, but they are back.
Well, they are back, yeah, for at least a decade.
Yeah.
By the news there. We can assume that the team and its performance staff will be working very closely with Ridley to ensure their riders are on the fastest equipment possible over the coming years, 10 years. And talking of performance staff, that's the other bit of news.
Yeah, it is. So you may remember a few months ago that I interviewed a coach by the name of Olav Aleksander Bu. So he's a Norwegian supercoach who's risen to prominence as the mastermind behind Christian Blumenfeld and Gustav Eiden's triathlon training. And he did talk in the interview, actually, about how he was kind of consulting a little bit with cycling teams. But now it's official. He's going to become head coach of Uno-X on November the 1st.
Crikey. Anyway, those two deals have got me wondering as to whether this is a new arm of pro cycling's arms race.
How so?
Well, we know how important technological and training advances are in pro cycling right now. Make sure you watch Connor's video from Saturday if you haven't already. And it feels like, as well as securing the top riding talent on multi-year contracts, signing the best minds on coaching and aerodynamics on long-term deals would also make sense if you believe they're going to make a significant difference to the performance of your team.
Yeah. If only teams were after experienced presenters
Yes.
as well, who could really promote their sponsors.
No, they should be. You should be, if you're watching. I'd be up for a very lucrative, long-term, exclusive deal for the use of my brain in that capacity.
Well, your brain and also your charisma,
Well, yes.
presumably, Dan. Don't undersell yourself, mate. Which team would you go for? Presumably all of them will be clamouring for your services.
So, so given that I'll have a huge choice. Good question. I'd probably go for the highest paying one, I would say. Or Lidl Trek.
You think you could sell like middle aisle Lidl products?
I don't think I could, Si. I know I could. This was my pitch to them.
Wow. And they haven't offered you a job yet?
Not yet, and nor have the UCI, strangely.
How weird. I'm not sure you can send pictures like that around the internet, mate. No, just for future reference. Anyway.
I know which way they swiped.
Yeah. I feel like we've gone off on a bit of a tangent
Slightly.
here. Let's bring things back round to bicycling again, shall we? By talking about the Masked Singer Belgium.
Bear with us on this one. So the Masked Singer is a very popular worldwide show.
So popular, I hadn't heard of it until this morning.
Which I hadn't heard of until this morning. Where celebrities dress up in a costume so that you can't see who they are. And then a panel of celebrity judges basically have to guess who's in the costume.
I mean, I genuinely can't believe what I've been missing out on.
Me neither.
But this is just fantastic, isn't it? Riveting entertainment. Can I ask how this relates to cycling, Dan?
Well, Si, in the Belgian series of The Masked Singer, there's been a squirrel singing.
Right.
And rumour has it that squirrel is Wout van Aert.
OMG.
I know, right?
I mean, do we know whether he's a squirrel?
Not 100%. It's part of the game.
How long
It
does
won't
it
be
take to
revealed
find
until he
out?
takes the mask off.
How many
They chant, take it off, take it off. That's what happens on the British one. I don't know what it is in Flemish.
How many times does he have to sing?
I think there's like a voting system. Lorraine has it on every Saturday, and I sort of half look at it and half look at social media on my phone whilst it's on. And so I only vaguely know the rules. I think there's like a voting system where some of them sort of get voted off, at which point they have to reveal.
I see.
Yeah.
Crikey. Well, I hope it's all right with his knee injury and he doesn't miss out on any pre-season training. Right, moving on. A bit of Zwift news now. The Tour of Watopia has just started. Celebrating a decade of Zwift, you will be rewarded with a special edition kit, including shoes and double XP points, which you can get as many times as you want.
You can, yes. I was reading that. So there are 5 stages, but you can ride them multiple times if you wish to get the double XP. I actually tried to ride the first of the Tour of Watopia things yesterday.
Tried?
I tried, yes. I got halfway around and I tried to use my power up, like a feather, but I accidentally pressed the U-turn button, at which point my progress on the stage just disappeared, even though I did a double U-turn. So word of caution, don't press the U-turn button because it will think you've aborted the stage.
Solid advice there, Dan. Solid advice. Aren't you doing the GCN Club ride tomorrow?
I am indeed, yes. So I'm unable to do the Wednesday GCN Club rides at 6:30 UK time due to other commitments. So instead, I'm going to do one tomorrow at 1300 BST, which is, 12 o'clock GMT or 1400 CEST, but just for your particular time zone.
There you go. And a reminder as well, that'll be a non-drop ride. So, Dan, you won't get dropped.
No, exactly, yes. And I'll be in the chat as well if you would like to chat or ask any questions.
You accidentally hit the U-turn button.
Yeah, see you later, guys. I'm dropped. Gone the other way. Next up, it is hack/Bodge of the week. Don't forget, you can get involved in this part of the show, either with your own hacks or bodges, or some that you've seen out and about. globalcyclingnetwork.com/uploader. You'll find a link in the description down below. First up this week, this from Daniel in SoCal. My sister's recently been getting into crocheting. She spotted this book at a store and asked if I needed any upgrades for my bike. While the birds look tempting, they won't help me fly up a hill any faster.
Oh my word. What an absolute masterpiece. 20 makes for you and your bike by Shara Ballard.
It's a bargain second hand at $3.
I want one of those I love my bike crocheted things.
I'd be up for the crocheted spokey dokies.
Well, you couldn't use those in the rain, Dan, so you probably would be all right, wouldn't you? Just stick on your indoor trainer. I mean, that's just a hack from me. That's just brilliant. Cycling needs more of that. Oh, it's only $3. Craft bomb your bike.
You know, last week I said that if I could make it, it would be a Bodge.
Yeah.
I'm going hack as well.
Yeah, well, you know, last week when you said if I could make this, it'd be a Bodge, someone pointed out in the comments, their name is down here. 2 minutes prior, you said that dish towels wrapped around a handlebar were definitely a hack.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Not sure I could carry that off.
Thank you to He's No Rocket Surgeon for pointing that one out.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, I did have a chuckle. No, I'm saying hack for that one.
Okay, I'll go hack as well.
Great stuff. Right, congratulations, Daniel from SoCal. You got us off to a good start. Carlos Parada said, found online this amazing and simple new bottom bracket system.
This is a video. We shall try and describe it for those of you listening on podcast platforms. Well, it's effectively both sides of the crank fastened together with the use of an old quick release. There's some long-looking nuts on the non-drive side crank holding it on as well, by the looks of things. So I looked at this earlier and winced, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I mean, admittedly, my ankles are broader than most, but that, I mean, 100%, I would take the skin off my ankles.
It'd be funky cleat setup for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's just no way. Like, I mean, I like that as a neat way of preloading your bottom bracket, but I just, yeah, it's not
Do
work
you reckon
for
it's
me.
preloading or just
Holding it together?
Generally used to hold it onto the bike?
Well, I mean, it's a good question, Dan. We should maybe go back and have another look at the type of cranks and bottom bracket involved, but
Give me 2 seconds, I'm not very good with computers.
no, just talk amongst yourselves for a little
It's
bit.
going to take forever now. Oh, here we go.
It's being asked for his password.
Du-du-du-du.
No, that's a Shimano. Hang on a minute, is it?
On one side it is. I think there's different cranks on both sides. This goes back to something I keep saying. That there are certain parts of the world, aren't there, or certain places everywhere really at this point, where people just can't afford bikes, like we were saying at the very top of the show, and anything that will keep a bike on the road and usable as a form of transport, they will use. So if that's the case, it's a hack. If that's someone's bike that's got lots of money, that's a Bodge.
Yeah, I mean, even if that is just like keeping a bike on the road, I do fundamentally think there must be a better system than a quick release, which is very bulky. So I'm going to say Bodge.
Okay.
I'm going to say Bodge.
Right, moving on. If we've got any viewers left after watching Si look very closely at the screen to see whether he thinks it's a hack or a Bodge. This one from Figmo Rider. I made this simple device for a few quid, so I could break in a freshly waxed chain and reduce the flaking on the chainstay. Just 5 plain bearing jockey wheels spaced 50mm apart on a scrap piece of alley box section. Best if the chain is joined so all the chain can be worked. Can also use 1, then 3 or 5 jockey wheels as the chain loosens up. Perhaps Alex could make one for Ollie for Christmas. I've added that bit in for Christmas.
I mean, like obviously I appreciate that chain waxing
Yeah.
is the best way of getting the maximum amount of performance and longevity from your drivetrain. I do feel like it's a bit faffy, Dan, and this from Figmo Rider does not make me consider it any less faffy. The fact that you've got to do this in order to reduce the flaking on the chainstay. You don't want dandruff on your bike. That's what it's saying.
it's
This
the
is
last
like
thing you want, isn't it?
yeah. This is like head and shoulders for wax chains.
I still think it's good. I mean, my initial question when I first saw it was, but how do you loosen up the chain at either end? But yes, pointed out that if you join both ends together, that is increasing the faff though, isn't it? Because you've got to join
you've got to
the chain,
unbreak it again
then break it again, ready to put it back on your bike.
Just put it on your bike, go for a ride, and wipe it off with a cloth. Would that not be the answer?
This is why we don't present on GCN Tech.
This is why we don't wax our chains, mate. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we've got better things to do.
no, I didn't mean it like that. I wouldn't say there were better things, they were just more pressing things to do than wax chains. No, I mean, I'm torn, I'll be totally honest, because it's clearly not a bodge, is it? Someone's done this intentionally and done a nice job of it, but equally, it just makes me feel like the whole thing is...
Yeah. Right, Bodge then. I'm going hack for that.
No, I'll go hack, all right.
Okay. Let us know in the comments below, incidentally, how many of you, when Si said got more pressing things to do, thought of bottom brackets. I bet a lot.
Yeah, well,
in my mind.
no, I haven't been pressing any bottom bracket bearings either, actually. All that.
Got a quick release for that now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, jobs are good. Right, next up, Ted for two. The multi-unit fork feeder, MUF for short, is a high-capacity uncrustable magazine that mounts to your bicycle fork to deliver high-calorie sports nutrition to the most remote locations quickly and effectively. Built for adventure, this MUF can really take a pounding even when fully stuffed. Oh my god.
Proven at a Premier Pennsylvania gravel event, my MUF was quite a crowd pleaser. Is how Ted on 2 finished his description off.
Oh, but that's gonna shake them all about, isn't it?
Sort of looks like a bird feeder mounted to somebody's fork, doesn't it?
I don't think you thought that one through, apart from the marketing jargon, Ted.
Is this an actual product for sale that's just been put onto somebody's bike?
I have no idea.
Looks like it.
I mean, it is very nicely put together.
But it's on what looks to be a rather nice gravel bike.
Yeah, I just
with
feel
fenders.
I just feel like that's not the place to store your food, is it?
Yeah. It'd be quite nice if you're just going along in a remote place somewhere on your gravel bike and some birds come down to feed off the... I presume this is not meant for birds, despite the description.
Oh my goodness. Bodge.
Yeah, I'm going Bodge as well.
Yeah.
Finish on a downer.
That's it. Sorry, Ted. Your muffs are Bodge. Right, on that note, as Dan said at the beginning, remember that you can get involved to this part of the show. We love it, so keep them coming in. What was it? GCN...
globalcyclingnetwork.com/uploader.
Uploader. There you go. It's time now for Caption Competition, that part of the show where you get a chance to get your hands on a coveted GCN Camelback water bottle. All you got to do is put a witty caption in the comment section down below. We'll pick a winner next week, but we'll start, as always, with the results from last week.
We will indeed. Just before we get on to the results, I need to make a personal apology to Barbara Guarici.
You do.
For 2 reasons.
Yeah, not just one, but 2 apologies.
So, I don't know why, but on last week's Racing News show, when talking through the Simac Ladies Tour, where this picture was taken, I said that Rachele Barbieri won stage 5 when it was Barbara Guarici. I've got no idea how I mixed the two, apart from they're both Italian. And then for this picture, which was the caption from last week, I said this was Christine Matherus walking through.
And clearly it's not, is it?
Well, no, even in the description of the photo, it says Barbara Guarici. So I'm really sorry, Barbara. I don't know what's quite going on here. But anyway, that was the photo. The winner is Neil M. Don. So
2 weeks on the trot.
that was his caption.
Is this a first time
It is, yeah.
back-to-back winner in the history of GCN Caption Competition? Neil.
Hopefully we haven't sent the first bottle out yet, so we can save on postage costs. Anyway.
Hopefully so.
Would you like to hear the caption?
Yes.
Neil put, no, I said retiring, not retiring.
Genius.
Yeah, we had to go with that one, didn't we?
I like the fact that Neil's gone in there and gone like, you know what, I might have won last week, but I've got a banger of an idea for this week as well.
Because you can't save it, can you? You can't think,
can't.
I've got a banger that I'll leave for a few weeks' time,
No.
because it won't go with the picture in a few weeks' time.
When you're hot, you're hot. This is something that Wout van Aert learnt to his detriment. No, Gent Wevelgem. You know, he was like, I'm going to win Tour of Flanders next week, so I don't need to win Gent Wevelgem.
yes.
You can have that. He's barely won a race since. So yeah, Neil, well done, mate.
Barely won a race since.
Now, no chance getting 3 on the bounce, though. Not at all.
No, because you're banned. Neil,
That'd be like Giro, Tour, Vuelta. It's just not happening, is it?
The Triple Crown.
Yeah.
This week's photo comes from the Tour of Huangji. This is like an interesting bit from presumably the start podium. There's a drum here. I'm describing it for podcast listeners. And there's 2 Ineos Grenadiers riders, or Grenadiers, as we get onto that a little bit later, who are banging the drum. Anyway, you kind of need to see the photo, so if you're listening on podcast,
really, yeah.
you better have a look at another time. I will get you started. Is that a drumstick, Oscar, or are you just pleased to see me?
Oh my goodness me.
It's kind of toilet humour, isn't it? But
It is a little bit.
It is quite a funny photo as well.
I should imagine Neil's there going, oh, let me enter now.
I've got a 3rd in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you have, stick it in the comment section. We will pick a winner next week. We'll just pick the best one. Doesn't matter who sent it in. We're very fair and honest, aren't we, in that respect?
Yeah. We will shortly be letting you know what we've got coming up for you on the channel this week. But first up, a few comments from last week's videos, starting as ever with a couple from underneath the GCN Show a week ago. Firstly, from Stephen, who put, I feel like you've returned to the true spirit of GCN. I don't even know what that means, but I like being a snob about it. To which Ryan Beechner replied, you now fully understand gravel.
That's right. This is about the fact that, the spirit of gravel originally was anyone can come and join and we're super laid back. And now it seems to have been hijacked from people that are the gatekeepers of the spirit of gravel and like nothing more than to tell you that you don't do gravel and you don't know gravel and you don't get gravel. To which Isaac edits our vids pointed out, what did you say earlier on about Unbound?
Unbound was too muddy to be real gravel last year.
That's right. The gravel world wasn't gravelly enough. Only Unbound is gravelly enough. Except, yes, Isaac pointed out that everyone complained that Unbound wasn't gravelly enough.
No, too muddy.
Too muddy. Yeah.
There's a real sweet spot, isn't there?
There is, gravel. Yeah. But no one knows what it is. Anyway, there we go. Keith McClure said, in reference to can you do too much cycling, he said, this August I was the final finisher of GB Giro. So that's from the extremities of the UK on and off-road. So it took 14 days and change. Plenty of mechanical issues, but no injuries. 3 days back in the office, and I was grumping and groaning about a sore back. Not from cycling, but from my office chair. My conclusion, 37 hours in the office, bad. 37 hours on the bike, good. Well, there you go, yeah.
Fantastic.
You're acclimatised the right way, I think.
Mr. Brackley wrote in with an explanation for you, Si.
Yeah.
And the girl on the podium with Zoe Bagstedt is a local legend already. Her name is Joya. She was on the stage with SD Works in team kit before this year's Gent-Wevelgem. I think she was on the podium at the end of the women's race that day and was the girl you may have seen running up the Kemmelberg before the peloton arrived.
I did not.
To enormous cheers.
I did not see that,
Si.
no.
Had a nice chat with her dad at the depart. She's a huge cycling fan and wants to be a pro. She's fast becoming Belgium's most loved mascot. Remember the name, Joya.
I mean, that's good to have the context. So thank you, Mr. Brackley88. It doesn't change my perspective on things. I don't think she should be on the podium.
No?
No.
Okay.
I mean, call me...
Bodge.
Yeah, call me grumpy, but I'm just... Why? What's she doing there?
Don't know. Yeah, I'm happy to be grumpy on this one as well.
Yeah, all right. Speaking of grumpy, a lot of great comments actually under the "Should you be suspicious of pro cycling" video. We could probably do an entire GCN show on this, couldn't we? Andrew Jackson, we picked out your comment. Current riders are linked to past dopers through team owners, directors, sportives, and doctors who are still in the sport today, despite decades of doping riders. That is a good point, isn't it?
It is a good point, yes. I think you're right. We could do an entire GCN show on this one comment, really, to do it justice.
I mean, even like the super clean teams, like, you know, when Jonathan Vaughters kicked off things, like, he got busted.
Yeah, I guess he's a sort of case in point in many respects, isn't he? He admitted to doping in his past. I can understand this from a public perspective, is that there are so many people who admitted to doping back in the dark days that are still in the sport now, and the suspicion therefore is, why would they not be pushing the same values onto young riders coming into the sport as a professional rider today? And I get that. What I would also say is I don't think many/any of the riders that doped in the dark years got into the sport thinking, right, I can't wait to get into the professionals and start cheating and taking banned products. They ended up in a sport that at the time was incredibly dirty and faced a choice. Some of them embraced it a bit more easily than others.
Rico.
Yeah, exactly. Some were reluctant, but ended up crossing that line when they didn't really want to. They just felt they had no choice. Others did say, no, I don't want to dope to be a part of this sport, and if it means I don't have a career, so be it. So I think it's very easy to look back 20, 30 years on and condemn everyone that doped at the time, so they must have been an awful person. The fact was they were in a very different era and had a choice to make at the time, which we don't think riders now have to in terms of making that same choice. So yeah, I understand when you've got a Vaughters or a Gianetti or whoever it might be that you're looking at managing a team, doctors the same, thinking, well, surely they're pushing it on the rise. I think that almost all of those people that did what they did at the time are very pleased that they're now managing riders who don't have to make the choice that they did back in the day. You know, they didn't want to make it back in the day. They don't want to see riders do that now, and I don't think they are necessarily having to do that now. We might be completely wrong on this. I might be completely wrong.
Yeah.
It's just a hunch. We're on the periphery of the sport at this point, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's valid, and I do agree with you. I think my take on this, I've always very quietly advocated for one strike and you're out for cycling. I feel like, you know, people often say, oh, everyone deserves a second chance. Like 100% in the criminal justice system, I think everyone deserves a second chance. But cycling is a profession, right? And in other professions, white collar professions like accountancy or law or medicine, like generally it's one strike and you're out, isn't it? I think like if you mess up badly as a doctor, you get struck off. I think the same is probably true of law and accountancy as well. And I feel like professional cycling, if it had that policy, then hopefully you wouldn't end up in this situation. Even if, like you say, that everyone's actually okay now, it would set a precedent, wouldn't it? And then you're like, okay, right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a subject we just mentioned we could talk about for a long time, perhaps should do again at some point. But again, if you haven't watched Connor's video, do get involved and let us know in the comments of that video what you think. Because like Si said, there was more negativity, I think, towards that video from a lot of people than a general GCN video. But that's because we haven't tackled that topic that much in the past. But perhaps, as I said, we should do and we'll do more so in the future.
Also, I have a feeling that some people came to that video wanting to see us throw dirt around and would expect nothing, would be happy with nothing other than, you know, like, it's doping is rife. Because I think that's what a lot of people feel like.
Yeah, and I completely understand why people would have that perspective given the past, given the speeds we're seeing now, which is why it's an interesting subject.
Exactly. All right, well, should we move on then? You're not as aero as you think you are. This was where me and Connor had our positions absolutely roasted by Dan Bigham, who... said that Alex Payton was absolutely perfect, unfortunately. Anyway, Ryan USA? Are you in USA? I don't know what that is. Can you see that?
Not really, no.
Sorry, dude. Something about USA. So I summed it up. I'm as aero as I want to be. 99.9% of us are not current pros racing, so it doesn't really matter to be uncomfortable for that long. But then everyone wants to go faster for less effort, don't they? I mean, it is quite addictive.
So that was it. When I was on my Zwift ride.
Did you get aero, did you?
Well, no, I just thought, this is good, I don't need to be. just be bolt upright as I want and going to go the same speed.
There you go.
Although I hadn't updated my weight from my newfound gym gains. So I was on Zwift under 72 kilograms, where I'm now 76.
So are you?
Yeah.
You put on that amount of muscle?
I was 77 a week ago. I seem to have lost a kilo somehow. It does fluctuate, doesn't it, with water and stuff, water retention.
Are you really? I didn't know that.
Well, I don't know if it's muscle yet, do I? Because I've got the final test soon.
Oh, I see.
I'm hoping it's not just water and fat, obviously.
I mean, you are looking pretty buff.
We'll find out. A few weeks' time.
I can't wait for that thumbnail.
No.
You know, there was I've been meaning to tell you this.
I think the Photoshop team are already hard at work for that thumbnail.
Yeah, I've been meaning to tell you this for weeks. I don't know whether this is going to make the cut, but there's a shop near my house that sells art, and one of the pieces of art is "Never trust a man whose nipples don't line up." For some reason, I always think of you when I go past. Not that they didn't line up. It's just.
I mean, this is the. You know, some of you might remember that there was a comment underneath the first part of that series that said, have Dan's nipples had an argument because they're so far apart? So I think the question that everyone wants answering is, have they made up?
Let's go to the gym, brought them closer together. Yeah, well, I mean, we will find out. When is the final instalment? It's in about a month, isn't it?
Yeah, about a month's time, mid to late November, yeah.
Dan's panic training as we speak.
Heat training, got beetroot juice.
Yeah, all right then. So what is coming up on the channel this week? I don't actually know. Hold on.
Sorry for that brief interlude. We just realised that we hadn't written down what we've got coming up for you, but we have now. So on Thursday, it is budget versus premium setups.
That's right. Indoor trainers. What's the difference between the least expensive smart trainer and, well, not the most expensive, but basically the best?
Yeah, not far off. Yeah, really interesting actually, because the indoor training sector is one part of the cycling sector where things have got better value for money in terms of what you can get for a lower price point, excuse me.
Have you been strong enough to actually test the power of the lower trainer?
Not yet, no. I'm due to do that tomorrow. We're recording this on Monday, so yeah.
All right, fair
By
enough.
the time this comes out, I would have broken a couple of trainers in.
Boom. Okay, well, on Saturday, some of you were asking about where our Gravel World Championships video has gone, given that I went out there a couple of weeks back. I mean, the honest answer is that the UCI has banned it.
Yeah.
So coming out on Saturday is a video which is basically the UCI has banned our Gravel World Championships video. So yeah, which is freaking annoying because it was amazing. Not the video, I can't vouch for that, but the race was. So anyway, it's quite amusing nonetheless. So we'll have that for you. I'll have that for you. It was
Simon will explain all on Saturday.
Oh my God, it turned into one of the, aside from the race being great, it turned into one of the most ridiculous, comically bad trips of all time. But there we go.
We'll see whether that makes a good video. Let us know underneath Si's video on Saturday. And
I've sold it, haven't I? I've really sold it.
Well, on Sunday, Alex's first ride of his Neo Retro bike that he's been working on.
Oh, it's a thing of beauty, that. Right then. Basically, we wanted to see how fast it was, whether Alex could cut the mustard.
Well, given how aero he is, according to a certain Dan Biggin, I expect he's fast on pretty much any bike.
Well,
but anyway.
Well, you just wait and see. Right then, you've been waiting patiently for this, haven't you? For a very long time, indeed,
Years.
I think. Yes, so we're pleased to bring back, for this week, Extreme Corner. Yes.
We're definitely too old to do those arms.
Yeah.
This week, this year, this decade, whatever this Extreme Corner is, we're going to show you Tom Eisted at the Red Bull Rampage, which is an event widely regarded as the most dangerous cycling event in the world.
It's lost its spirit, though. There was quite a bit of controversy this year that, the Red Bull Rampage has lost the true spirit of
Well,
Rampage.
we're really building this up, aren't we? Anyway, this is Tom Eisted. Check it out.
Oh, that was a sketchy run, wasn't it?
Sketchy. I mean, obviously it's such... I watched that video, it's over on GMBN. It's such a long preparation, isn't it, to G yourself up to the huge jumps they do. I mean, the cameras just never do them justice. To then sort of nail it and then realise that you're going to have to do some more skills just to get out of the
Just to
bad
survive.
landing. Yeah. Oh, I must have a bit heart in your mouth moment twice in succession.
Fair play, though. But there you go. Oh, that was worth waiting for, wasn't it?
It was, and we've got more in the pipeline for the next couple of weeks.
We do. Thank you, Blake Sampson, for that. Right then, thank you so much for watching the GCN show, as always this week. Make sure you get involved with Caption Competition. Make sure you send in your hacks and bodges. And make sure as well you let us know what you think about how to make cycling or bikes cheaper, basically.
More affordable, yeah.
Indeed, indeed. All right, and then we'll see you next week, won't we?